Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, nice to meet you. I'm Jane and my husband Mike does everything behind the camera. We're British early retirees, we have no debt, we've paid off the mortgage and we live a thrifty, frugal and money-saving life in Brittany in northwest France. And every Friday we bring you something food related. Now the cost of food, the cost of energy is just going up and up and up. So this week I want to share with you some soups that are very economical to make, very healthy, very tasty, and they are very easy to batch cook and then freeze and then reheat later. Let's get going. Before I share some food ideas with you, I thought I would share some container ideas with you. Now, lots of people think that you can't freeze in jam jars or jars with lids on them. Yes, you can. You need to leave a good gap at the top. I would say 2 centimeters or an inch away from the top, and just leave it for some expansion. But you can easily freeze in jam jars. Also, any old food containers that you've got, and you can also freeze in freezer bags. And what I do for portion size is I pop a small freezer bag in a mug, tuck it over the top, pour the soup in, and then put a tie clip around it, and then pop it into the freezer. So you can freeze in jam jars, any containers that you've got, and also of course that you can freeze in freezer bags. First one, which is an absolute favourite of ours, and it cooks really easily and it freezes really well, and I can make this in my Instant Pot in 15 minutes, and I just stick everything in the Instant Pot. I don't fry anything off, I don't add anything to it. I will buy a bag of frozen mixed vegetables for about €1, or I will just chop up any vegetables I've got and stick them in there. I will add in a cupful, or in my case, a mug full of lentils. I will throw in there maybe a couple of veggie stock cubes. I will add in a tin of tomatoes if I had them. And then I usually add into all of that 5 mugfuls of water. And that's it. Stir it all up, stick it in my Instant Pot, set that to high pressure for 15 minutes, and that's it. At the end of it, I might use my blender stick to blend that. But that's as long as it takes. So however long it says on your packet to cook the lentils, that's all you need. But it freezes really well, especially if you've blended it. Now, when you reheat it, you might see it separate slightly. Just stir it. Just stir it as you warm it. Heat it through, either in a bowl in the microwave, make sure after 2 minutes you stir it, or stick it in a small pan, stick it on your stove top and heat it through, right through. If you've frozen anything, I always think it's really important to heat it up to boiling point and then simmer it for just a minute after that. But anything that's lentil soup based freezes really well. Now you can make a batch cook of that, so that's just enough, say, for Mike and I. But if you think of that, each mugful, once I've cooked it, is enough. So if I've made 6 mugfuls, I will actually do 3 double-sized portions in a bag, and then I know that is perfectly enough for the 2 of us to have as one of our light meals in the day. The next one is anything that is bean based, or bean and pasta and vegetable based, and there is a trick to this one. It's to cook the soup, the onions, the tomatoes, the vegetables, the stock and the beans, cook that, and then when you come to reheat it, then add in your pasta. We buy the very tiny pieces of pasta that are designed to go into soup. So if you can find those and add those in when you reheat it. I have found making soup and cooking it with the pasta is not as effective, nor is nice, and it just doesn't heat as well. And the other one, if you wanted to add cabbage to that afterwards, that's something that you could keep in your freezer and reheat if you know you're going to have some leftover cabbage. And the cooked leftover cabbage, finely chop it, add it into the soup when you're going to cook the pasta in there as well. And you've got kind of something along the lines of minestrone. The next one is a chicken and rice soup. So if you've roasted a chicken, or you've bought a roasted chicken, you've got all the meat off, and then you've got the carcass, and you've added the carcass into your pan with plenty of water, any vegetables that you've got. I would say to yourselves, not the leftover vegetables that you put in the freezer for stock, because this isn't where you're going to strain off all the bits and pieces, because you want the bits of chicken meat to fall off the bone and go into the soup. So make this with the vegetables that you're going to add to it. And then there is a trick to this. So you can just cook that, and if everything's really finely chopped, it'll be quite a clear soup. I said a clean soup then, a clear soup, like a broth or a consommé. And then when you come to serve that and reheat that, add in a good mugful of rice. Chicken and rice always works, doesn't it? Chicken, vegetables and rice always works really well. But don't freeze it with the rice in. It doesn't work. The chicken and vegetable soup will freeze beautifully. It lasts really well. But add the rice in when you come to reheat it. Make sure the rice is cooked just the way that you like it, and you'll have a nice, tasty soup that will fill you up with the rice in there too. The next one is, sometimes I make this if I've left the tomatoes a bit longer than I ought to and they've started to go a bit soft, or I've left the peppers in the fridge and they've started to go a bit soft. I don't think I'd like them in a salad, but they are brilliant in a soup. And this is where you're going to cook them first. So you can have your peppers and tomatoes and even your onions too, and literally pop them in your air fryer with a little bit of oil. Now some people say you mustn't take the sort of shelf out. I do. I take the shelf out and just use it like a whole cooking pot, and I will add just enough oil to coat everything, and then I'll cook it on a lower heat until everything is soft. I'll just add that to the blender, the cooked tomatoes, the cooked peppers, the cooked onions, to a blender or a food processor with some hot stock. And I make stock by a couple of stock cubes. I boil the kettle, I dissolve it, and add that in and thicken that to it. Little trick of this one, if you come to make it and you think to yourselves afterwards, I don't think that's thick enough, when you come to reheat it, if you've got any leftover mashed potato, add that in. If you haven't got any leftover mashed potato, do you have any instant mashed potato? Because I like to buy instant mashed potato because it thickens soups and casseroles really well. Have a go. It's a really tasty soup. The next one is a potato and leek soup. Now people think with potato and leek soup that it can be expensive because some people add cream into it. I don't add cream. I saute some onions and leeks in a pan with a little oil, and then I add in a little butter. That's what gives it the creamy taste. And I cook that down until they're soft but not brown. I then will add in my peeled potatoes that I've cut into small chunks. And I cut them into small chunks so they cook quickly. And then I add in usually some chicken stock, or I'll do half chicken stock and half milk. Half chicken stock and half milk. But you don't have to add the milk. It's entirely optional. I find it makes it a bit creamy. And the seasoning I put into leek and potato soup at the end is tarragon, dried tarragon. It really, really adds something to it. I then blend it and freeze it. It freezes really well. It's a great one to batch cook. It's a great one to have in the freezer. It's really, really super comforting soup. My last one that I really like is anything spiced soup. So I quite like anything root vegetable soup, so carrot, parsnip, but I also like any of those soups that are pumpkin based, butternut squash, any of the pumpkins that we get seasonally here, and then just taking the root vegetables, taking the pumpkin of any sort, and then simply roasting them until they are soft. So cooking them on a low heat, cook them in the slow cooker, cook them in the air fryer, anything like that, but until they are soft or roasted. And then again, boil the kettle, add a stock cube and some boiling water together, add it to the soup, blend them afterwards, and try it again with my potato hack. Add in some instant mashed potato because it just thickens it really cheaply and doesn't take away from the taste of it. Now when it comes to spicing that, when you roast it, that's when you can add your spices. You can roast some chilies at the same time, or when you come to cook it, you don't have any chilies, you could add in chili sauce or smoked paprika or any chili that you like. I like to use a spoonful of tikka curry paste into mine. So it's like a pumpkin-y, parsnippy, curried, spicy soup. Promise you, it's absolutely delicious. It freezes really well. It's very easy to batch cook, and it certainly is cheap. So there you go, 6 simple soups that are so easy for batch cooking and freezing. None of them expensive, all of them tasty. Great simple meals for your family, because even though it might be springtime, but we still have those chilly evenings, don't we? Where a steaming bowl of soup and some crusty bread is just what you like. Tell me, what is your favourite soup? Do you batch cook it and does it freeze well? And are there only any freezer tips that you can share with us for freezing your soups? See you on the next video. Bye bye for now.